Good day everyone, I'm Floremi Bijumabok. So for today, I will discuss the learning and behavior characteristics of children with disabilities. So result of studies show that there are at least 99 separate characteristics of children with learning disabilities. So more than 500,000 combinations of cognitive or socio-emotional problems associated with the condition are possible. So the large number of learning characteristics makes it difficult to interpret research findings that can provide the basis for recommending effective teaching strategies. So learning disabilities may occur within the lifespan. The symptoms and characteristics can be manifested immediately after birth, during infancy, through the school years, and adulthood. So the first is reading. Possess the most difficulty among all the subject and the curriculum. It may be recalled the facet of curriculum are listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Thus, reading problems are answered by deficiencies in language skills, especially the phonological skills. So these skills develop the ability to understand the rules of how various sounds go with certain letters to make up words called grapheme corresponds. So the difficulty in breaking words into their components sounds result to difficulties in reading and spelling. Next one is written language. Possess several problems in one or more of the following areas. So the handwriting, spelling, composition, and writing, which is illegible and slow. So studies show that these children are not aware of the basic purpose of writing as an act of communication. So they approach writing as a test-taking task. They write shorter sentences and stories. They do not use writing strategies spontaneously. So their written work showed the lack of planning, organizing, drafting, and editing. Next one is spoken language. Possess problems on the mechanical uses of language in syntax or grammar, semantics or word meaning and phonology of the breakdown of words into their component sound and leading individual sounds composed word. So next is pragmatics or social uses of language. Possess problems on the ability to carry on a conversation. So children with learning disabilities are found to be unable to engage in the mutual give and take in carrying on conversation. So while they are often agreeable and many times they find it difficult to understand idea. So conversations are marked by long silences and ability to learn the other person's statement or questions. So they tend to answer their own questions before the other person has the chance to respond. And they also tend to make irrelevant comments that make the other person uncomfortable. Next is mathematics. Problems are recognized as second to deficiencies in reading language and spelling. Next is these children tend to fail and be retrained in grade level. So the level of academic achievement tends to decrease progressively as the grade level increase. So they find their studies to be more difficult as they go up the grades. Next is behavior problems. Remain consistent across grade levels both in school, in community, and at home. So common behavior problems are inattention, impulsively, and hyperactivity. So in general, next one is in general, social acceptance. It is low. Some can be popular. Now, let's proceed the perceptual motor and general coordination problem. So children with learning disabilities exhibit visual, auditory, perceptual disabilities. This problem is not lack of acuity or sharpness in vision of audition in responding to visual and auditory perceptual stimulation. The disturbance is organizing and interpreting visual and auditory stimuli. Thus, they have problems in seeing and remembering visual shapes that leads to rehearsal of B and D. For example, they have difficulties in discriminating two words that sounds alike, such as meat and knit. So, or in the following oral instruction. So, they have difficulty with physical activities that involve gross and fine motor skills. They tend to drop things as thought they are all thumbs or have two left feet. So, they have problems with attention and hyperactivity. Now, let's proceed the memory, cognitive, and metacognitive problems. So, problems in memory, cognitive, and metacognitive areas are related. So, if there is problem in memory, then there are also problems in understanding or cognition. The problem show that in difficulties in remembering assignment and appointments, so though smart, the students forget the lesson easily and also deficits in memory because they do not use memory strategies like rehearsal, categorizing, and use of mnemonics. So there are problems in cognition that covers different aspects of thinking and problem solving. So this organized thinking occurs as a result of problem in planning, organizing their lives at home and in school. So difficulties in metacognition result from lack of awareness of skill strategies and resources of person task effectivity. So a child with a mild learning disabilities manifest deficit in cognitive functioning that show in poor academic performance in the different areas of learning. Reading, language, and mathematics are subject areas where they find the most difficulties. So the area in cognitive functioning are most affected are attention, memory, and thinking, or the executive functions of the mind. So next is attention deficit. So selective attention, or the ability to focus the relevant details of the lesson in the first requirements for learning to take place. So children who cannot pay attention cannot focus on the teaching episode for a particular subject. So the deficits in attention results in inefficiency learning or no learning at all. So students with disabilities learning do not learn despite average cognitive ability because attention deficit. So they cannot scan all the sensory stimuli such as the instructional aids used by the teacher, and instead are distracted by extra news or unrelated things. They appear to lack of the ability to sort information as shown by the wrong responses that they often give when asked questions. Lesson. So selective attention can be increased through coding and efficient selective attention strategies. Next is poor memory. So poor ability to store and retrieve information or previous learning is very evident among children with disabilities. So they find difficulty in remembering mathematics facts, spelling, words, vocabulary meaning, content, knowledge, and information. So studies show that as verbal or written rehearsal, coding or associating a new item with a concept already in memory. Imaginary and mnemonics are either absent, immature, or inefficiently used. So to help students with attention deficits, the teacher frequently call him or her back to attention. Likewise, they provide the students with study guides and summaries of the lesson. The teachers have yet to train the students to organize his time, his lesson, and herself. So he has to increase his ability to process information, develop selective and sustained attention, use rehearsal memory strategies, and self-monitoring strategies to keep track and continue to improve his own learning. Now, let's proceed the problems in social competence. So problems in relating other people is not a characteristic of persons with learning disabilities. Rather, it is an outcome of the different social climates created by people in school, at home, and the community, and other places with whom personnel with learning disabilities interact. So, score in tests in social skills can change over time as they gain competence in social situations. Social competence may be related to social status. Thus, a learning disabled person may be popular, neglected, or rejected. They can have low social acceptance but can enjoy popularity, or they may have significant deficit in social skills but enjoy acceptance by their classmates and friends. One thing sure, these children can enjoy socially rewarding experiences in mainstream classroom. So now, let's proceed the last topic. Causes of learning disabilities. So the causes of learning disabilities are attributed to genetic and environmental factors. As discussed in Chapter 4, the genetic factors refers to the characteristics that are inherited through the genes, chromosomes, and deoxyribonucleic acid or DNA. So, over the years, genetic researches show that learning disabilities tend to run in families and heredity is possible causes. So, studies of identical or monozygotic twins where one fertilized egg and splits and develops into two separate embryo show that when the two twins has a reading disability, and then the other twin is more likely also have a reading disability. So, in identical, twins possess the same physical and mental traits. However, research show that this is not true. In this case of fraternal or dizygotic twins, where two egg cells are fertilized and develop into two distinct embryos or the fraternal twins carry different physical and mental traits. So that's all. Thank you and God bless.